Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stoyan Verlakov. People call me Stu. I'm the information systems architect over at VMware. Today we'll be speaking about modernizing workspace management with the Workspace One UEM modern endpoint. A lot of modern words, but first, a few words about the actual presenters. As already stated, I'm Stoyan. I'm a domain lead in the EUC. I'm responsible for everything which touches an endpoint in VMware pretty much. And my personal passion is literally, if it works, don't touch it, change that. So we're always on the lookout for the latest and greatest things to implement and improve the delightful experience we're delivering to all of our users, which we refer to internally as colleagues. So today with me, I have Stefan Grigorov, who would most likely like to present himself. Stefcho?
Thanks, Stu. Hello, everybody. It's great to have you here. And we'll have a lot to talk about the modern stuff and how the traditional ones were. I have lived in many different environments with the traditional management, and you'll see the big difference today.
Okay, first of all, let's speak about the old world. I've joined VMware around 4 years ago. And when I came and saw how we're managing endpoints, I knew what we're dealing with. But this is nothing new for people who are dealing with traditional PCL lifecycle management, PCLM software such as SCCM and the likes. Everything is literally bound to this beautiful, stylish office building. Everything is connected to our secured perimeters, to our corporate domains, to Active Directory, and that model, that world, just is the way how business is done for quite some time. However, the new world is a bit different. We are working on any device, we're using any application, managed or not, for the good or bad. So we have a lot of things which are a potential attack vector, a lot of requirements and a lot of agilities expected of a modern business nowadays. And securing interactions is increasingly complex because of all of that plethora of variables. So let's quickly go through what is modern management, why is this important, and why did I fully embrace approach for all of our endpoints and how we actually implemented this. First of all, as we're speaking about any device and any application and any cloud, this means we can't be bound to a specific location. So the traditional thinking of an office is completely changing, more so nowadays. Therefore, the first key component of modern management is cloud-based management. I usually make the statement that if you give me internet, even if it's the moon, I will still manage your endpoint. Of course, because of the lack of oxygen, that might be a little bit difficult to achieve for your daily office routine. However, it's really the case. We are using cloud-based management, which works anywhere you are. And we are fully embracing cloud solution providers. As far as deployment goes, we have a lot of good news to bring you and how we are dealing with the current situation and how we have been dealing so for the past 2+ years. So there are a few key components which Stefan is going to deep dive into. But deployment is a big picture and it's a pretty costly exercise. Security is the most important piece because any solution, unless it's secure, is not a good solution in my eyes. The thing is, we already spoke about the intrinsic security of vision of VMware and how, because of the attack vectors being evolved every second we speak and how they're getting more complex and more sophisticated, security must be top-notch, or else it makes the solution unviable for deployment. And this is the last, and this is actually the most important piece. Nowadays, we're speaking about identity. Center front stage is the user account and his authentication at all given times. We no longer think about the endpoint as a gating factor which we can rely upon. This is also embracing the zero trust approach, which we heavily invest into in the way how we solve problems and how we deal with things on a day-to-day basis. We're also going to speak about VMware Access, which is our single sign-on solution, and Windows Hello for Business, which is the bridge between our new modern way of how things are done and the legacy burden of all the applications which still reside and heavily depend on our data center. So let me hand it over to Stefan about modern management.
So now we'll take time to look on the 4 key components, but focused on Windows. And the very first thing moving to modern management was the factory provisioning, and it was the big piece, the very big win, because with factory provisioning we are able to actually provide devices directly to our colleagues without the need on IT to have additional touches. We all know how like the hardware is ordered, then you have to configure it, ship it here and there. So that is long gone. I won't give in more details because we'll speak about later. The next one is Azure AD Cloud Join, which means we have a pure Azure devices. We're not talking about hybrid. We join them to Azure, and that's actually the beauty because you can join anytime, anywhere. As Stoyan mentioned, you just need internet. One time I had to enroll a test device. I was already on a business trip. I just pulled it out from my backpack. I've turned on my hotspot, and that's it. So in that sense, that's opened a lot of options for us. And Windows Hello for Business, that's the very first thing. It's absolutely mandatory to set it up, at least the PIN. The biometrics are optional, but many people are using them. And it's really closing the gap between accessing domain resources, because we have used to have domain machines and now we have a workplace join machine. So we cannot afford like every time to input a password. It would be so annoying and for our colleagues. And Windows Hello for Business really breached that gap, and it's super useful to live in a passwordless environments, even for the Windows part. And last but not least, when you enroll using your email in Azure and set up your Hello for Business, Workspace one is the first thing that comes up on the device, initiating an encryption. That's the very first thing. And then continuing with all of the policies and some of the additional software that could be delivered over the air. And that whole thing, I mean, it saves a lot of time into the different directions like imaging, how to set up a device, and how easy it is for all of our colleagues to just do it as a self-service. Here are the key components of the modern management and what we moved away from traditional and put it in modern. I won't mention each one of them, but for example, the Wi-Fi configuration. This is a really nice thing because you can push profiles and to our colleagues with the configuration of the Wi-Fi. And a live example is VMWorld from the past year, where we deployed the configuration for the Wi-Fi on VMworld prior the event. So any employee who goes there and open his laptop or mobile phone, which is enrolled, he's automatically connected to the Wi-Fi. So that's one good scenario. We deliver all of the certificates via Workspace ONE as well and use them for single sign-on capabilities. Cloud software distribution, so we can deliver any type of applications across the globe without having on-premise infrastructure. Everything is in the cloud, and we have, correct me if I'm wrong, still like 30 CDNs across the globe that are hosting this one. So
Precisely,
it's pretty
more than
stable
30.
and solid. And so that's a big piece. So a lot of the maintenance stuff that you have used to do on a daily basis or on a monthly basis to maintain your infrastructure, it's no longer there. So the next thing is Workspace ONE Intelligence. Again, a big piece and a huge winner, because the first thing is that we can report and have a really nice dashboards and widgets to display data. Anybody can make them on their own. So that saves a lot of reporting from me, because our directors and anybody who is interested can go there and build his own space with his own widgets and watch the data whenever he wants to. And it's like a live state of the data. And the other big piece of intelligence is that we can not only query settings, but we can enforce settings. So if it's something we want to block or something to delete or some fix to be applied, you can do it with Workspace ONE Intelligence. Feature updates and over-the-air updates, Windows Update for Business, we'll talk about and touch upon on next slides. And push button reset, that's a great feature. Okay, something happens with your operating system, you can just simply reset your device, and it's like instead of sending it back to IT to be reimaged, reconfigured, and so on, you can just reset it, and that's it. And the security, that's the big piece, how we moved from GPO to CSP. That's really a serious topic because you have a workplace joint machine, GPOs weren't there at all. So how you ensure it's secure? And yeah, we work hand by hand with security, and actually we were able to deliver everything necessary over the air with the MDM cloud policies. And later on, we were able to even remove the GPOs because we were able to deliver the same to our domain devices. And today, we don't have GPOs. Everything is delivered with CSPs over the MDM channel. And the compliance is awesome on topics like updates, feature updates, applications. We have quite a faster pace there.
Yeah, we're speaking about compressed FTRA. I had the, when I'm seeing GPOs, I usually think about slowness. The reason being is when I joined some 3.5 years ago, when we pushed the simple settings such as the change the background, we would get like 90% compliance over the course of 4 weeks. Um, we couldn't ever like figure out why is this so slow, but how is it looking like with CSP as an example?
Well, exactly the opposite. You know, it's not only VMware with a slow pace of compliance on GPOs or maybe software updates. It was the world we have used to work and live in. That's a traditional management, but with CSPs, it's a bit different because today Windows is like a mobile device. So we no longer have the agent pulling on a cycle from a server and checking, does I have something to report or to install? It's push notifications. So it's like on your phone. I push it from here, 30 seconds, 1 minute. If you're online, you're getting it. So in that sense, the compliance is reached in days, pretty fast.
Great.
And also the other thing is the GPOs are like usually we will say on logon, on reboot or whatever. CSPs, we can push them on a fly right now to your device if I want to.
Over the air, like magic.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next topic. Um, Onboarding colleagues in challenging times. Now, there is a running joke here, which is what made digital transformation happen within the company you're working in. And I'm happy to report it doesn't apply to VMware, but the joke is it's pretty much just work with a C. Is it the CEO? Is it the CIO? Is it the CTO? But the actual answer is a thing with a C called COVID-19. So these days are very different from what we used to know, say exact same time last year. Long story short, let me illustrate how a typical onboarding happens within an enterprise, any enterprise I've worked with, and there are quite a few. First of all, we have the new colleague who's starting his employment. He is most likely willing to accept the offer with HR. And along with the offer, he's going to say, I'm a Mac user, as an example, or I'm a Dell graphics designer user. That usually goes through the HR department to the hiring manager so that our colleagues can actually submit exactly what is his preference in terms of mobile device, in terms of a laptop, and everything else. So his manager has to make those purchases on behalf of the actual colleague. As he does so, this must be fulfilled. The fulfillment happens by receiving that exact same purchase order with the IT staff, which for us is our very friendly IT department. And then they will go ahead and provision that into Active Directory or any sort of a directory which is for central account management. There are not just Microsoft solutions for this. And they'll go and pretty much procure a mobile device as long as with a laptop, which is built to order, usually or pulled from stock. And there is a password which is generated in that specific flow. Now, that password is generated by the IT staff, so they know it. They will take all possible measures, encrypt it, put it into mails, etc., but deliver that to the hiring manager. So the hiring manager gets the password, and he somehow, usually very insecurely, because there is no secure channel to the new joinee, deliver it to him. Usually it's printed in the form of a printout left on the desk or something which is in the laptop itself, which is worst case scenario, but I've seen that happen as well. And it's going to be delivered somehow. By the time this password is delivered to the new hire, it has been seen by a lot of eyes. So a lot of CISOs and a lot of security folks are not quite happy with the solution, and rightly so. But to make matters worse, imagine that this colleague of ours is working from home. Today, everybody is working from home. So this laptop must be provisioned. Now, domain joint laptops must be able to talk to the domain so the first login can be established. And I've seen people do whole sort of creative stuff around that initial connection before logon, including setting temporary accounts with with one-time use VPNs, shipping tokens left and right, calling people over the phone, enabling just that connection, MAC address limited, you name it. I've seen it all, but that's just not scalable. You can't onboard 1,000 people tomorrow with this approach. So here's our laptop, which is currently sitting with IT. What is the worst case scenario? IT changes the password of the colleague, logs in for the first time within the corporate perimeter so he can establish this domain account, and puts it into a sticky note on the laptop, closes it and puts it into the box for shipping, and our colleague receives it. Now, this is all how it usually works, but I've asked myself, isn't there a better way? So actually, yes, there is. And we'll show you how we're doing remote enrollment with zero IT touch. What we've came up with is an approach called the magic link, because frankly, it's doing magic. First, the new hire receives an email with a link. That link allows access to the single sign-on page, which is Workspace ONE, without any specific credentials to be typed in on top, but a PIN code which is delivered on a secure channel over the phone by HR. So it's a two-factor login. One is the link, the other one is the PIN. Then our colleague goes and sets up his MFA, which is multi-factor authentication token, performs a password change. First of all, configure the flow to be able to change it in the future as well, then consume it. And after all, he's enabled. Now let's double click into those steps a little bit. Our magic link is, again, magic. It's a one-time use. It's also time bound. So the moment it's clicked and it's to be used, the PIN code must be entered, and within a certain time bound period, it's gone. It's no longer good. Once logged in, they can only launch a few applications. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it can be done anywhere. It is SaaS-based. It is not requiring any sort of domain connectivity. Doesn't require anything of the actual device besides a web browser, which is HTML5 conformed. So as a next step, they must set up some sort of authentication, which is reliable. Excuse me. That's for us. We have a very strict password policy. If you're not logging from within a specific zone, you must use multi-factor authentication setup. And as a matter of fact, zero trust does require that MFA to be center front stage. First thing you do, and first thing you learn, you teach your colleagues to use at all times when it is about authentication on an unsecure device. And frankly speaking, any device is an unsecure device. So they set up that MFA application on a personal mobile device or any mobile device, which can be changed later. They go through a flow to make sure it works by doing an example authentication, and done. As soon as they're done, their account is now marked as the session with the one-time use link and the PIN is no longer good. Going forward, this account, new hire at vmware.com, must use a multi-factor authentication. After they have that first initial and very important credential to be able to log in within our systems, we ask our colleagues to go through a password reset flow. First of all, they're allowed to go and set up their recovery mechanisms. A personal email, so they're unable to set up their corporate email. Why? Well, because if your account is locked and it doesn't work and you're trying to use the email to recover the account which doesn't work, it's a catch-22. It won't work. And also they have to register a phone to be able to receive a call to say, yes, I'm exactly that phone at that given point in time, or get a text message. So from these three options, they're able to choose two, the one they feel most comfortable with. After that, they are setting up their own password, which no one knows. So their account was provisioned with a password which was never communicated to anyone. It's very strong and very random, by the way. And after they go through this flow, a very important thing happens. The flag, account must change password before first logon, is removed. So this account is now active. It can function as required. Well, yes, but what if a person decides to join VMware, order a lot of equipment, and don't show up at work on first day? That happens, and unfortunately, way too frequently. So there is a solution to that. Workspace ONE is very polymorphic in that sense. We are putting specific restrictions in place, so only people who really show up on the first day can actually see the full benefits and all the corporate applications offered to them. So as a typical example, if I come up with the bright idea to extend my lodging just before I join VMware somehow and think it's going to work, let's say it could work, that just won't work because I cannot touch the financial system to log my expense reports. It is invisible before your first employment date. And on the first employment date, we can verify that this person is actually working with us. Our colleague is now joining our big family. Things are happy, we do nothing. But if this colleague of ours somehow decides that company XYZ offered something way better and he no longer wants to show up and start his journey with us, we terminate the account, which is immediately blocked within a matter of seconds because our single sign-on solution issues a flush token on anything possible. So that colleague of ours potential would misses out a lot, if I might say so. So let's double click into the Windows 10 device provisioning. Steph, would you mind taking us on the ride, please?
Yes, as I said in the beginning, the provisioning is a really big portion of the modern management and how we change the things, and especially how it helped us in the current outbreak situation. And we touched upon the traditional way, which is the top one with the many steps. That's usually how it's done in most of the companies. You have a deployment team, you capture and maintain images and things like that. You have to pre-configure the device, usually as we spoke, then ship it to the colleague. And imagine something happens, like the device is corrupted or something, then the colleague have to ship it back. Oh, this is a really bad thing with the shipping because ETAs could be really bad, especially nowadays. And also it has multiple touches. So it's a complex change of doing over and over the same, literally, almost, and maintain it, of course, on a quarter basis. Some companies even do it on a monthly basis, which is kind of insane for me, but I've seen it. And we wanted to eliminate the whole thing. And the first thing was like, okay, we don't want to make images. We don't want to capture and maintain this with the configured applications, with all of the stuff inside, ensure updates are there and so on. We decided to go with the as simple as possible, so it could be more easier to maintain and more flexible. So that's, we just use vanilla Windows. We don't longer capturing and putting stuff in it and configuring it in a way that we want to. It's just vanilla Windows. And that's really nice because if you now take a laptop from the shop and you enroll it in our environment, you get everything over there. That's how it goes. I mean, there are won't restrict you to do that. And that's a pretty nice thing because you're no longer maintaining imaging. The other thing is the PPKGs. That's the new thing from very not so new already, but a way to put applications into Windows itself. Workspace ones give you the capability to actually select your applications and put them in a PPKG, even send it automatically to the factory. So now you have both, right? You have the operating system, you have the applications, and now the factory can literally ship the devices straight to our colleagues. That eliminates all of the touches and the configurations we have to do. And this laptop is fully provisioned. If the colleague just needs to enroll with his email, and then that's all. And let's imagine someone touches on this device, stole it during the shipping from the factory. There is nothing on this device. There is vanilla Windows with 5 applications you can download freely from internet. So that's how it goes. What to say, the essential applications we put in the PPKG are, of course, Office because you need it, and the VPN and the communication tools. Nothing else, as I said, as simple as possible, and things that are required for everyone in the company. You know, we have developers, we have product teams, and so on. So that's really a piece of beauty because all of these steps, like how many steps you counted, Stu, when you were tracking this?
So when I joined VMware,
Can
I
you?
was tasked to actually count the steps. There were 26 individual steps which needed to happen in one system or the other, so we can actually get a machine out. And the best time achieved, literally the quickest possible, was close to 30 days from order until our colleague gets it.
Yeah, so often colleagues could be waiting for a laptop, and that's the situation in many places. So that eliminated everything. And considering we are in this COVID situation, it helps us a lot. You can imagine that. And you just put the order and wait at home for the PCs. I'm exactly waiting for the new devices to come. So that also gave the chance for the people to stop doing this repeatable work. So on and on and on. And now these people are focused into more productive stuff like innovation or how to automate stuff and things like that. We not just reduce stuff by eliminating them from the process, but untie them hands so they can be productive.
Awesome. Hey, let's speak about the out of the box experience. Would you mind taking us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine we are starting the you're starting the company, excuse me, or you want to order a new device, and you just put the order from our ticketing system and waiting to get approved and all of this stuff. But we have a portfolio of and hardware standards, so you can pick up the device you want. And the purchase, as I said, once approved, it goes directly to the factory. And in the factory, the magic happens. Like, okay, they apply our PVKG with our with the vanilla windows. They tag put the asset tag, so no longer people internally needs to do it, and also put a really nice VMware pamphlet we made on the UBI experience. So it's giving some guidance onto how to enroll the device. It's pretty easy, but it was for not so technical people. These instructions were pretty good. Then they ship the laptop to our colleague. You receive it at home or whenever you are, and you go through the UBI experience, so-called from Microsoft. And these are the blue screens in the beginning where you set up your region and selecting language. It's like 5 steps to set up your device. We'll touch upon, we are using Autopilot onto this one, so we can eliminate some of the configuration screens and made it even simpler, have a branding on the email page, and also kind of a lockdown on the device. It only can be enrolled with VMware email. Because, in the beginning, it was just like people were making local accounts and trying to join the domain, the traditional stuff. I mean, there was a time that they need to think of it differently as well as colleagues. So that's it. I mean, literally. And today, if you don't have a delay in the shipment, the laptop is getting to you pretty fast.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stefcho. I remember just we had a technical issue with Autopilot not working correctly for a little while still piloting this. And we've had quite the number of people who've logged in with their own personal Microsoft account into those devices. And I remember the actual responses we got with the, oh, so I need to start over all over again because they had the wrong account and not a lot of things used to work how they were supposed to. But since it worked pretty well, we had difficulties with only one thing which didn't quite work. So it was difficult to catch. Anyway, um, that was a funny story which we had in IT. But we in IT also deal with macOS. So as a matter of fact, we are a company which is owned by a hardware manufacturer, which is not a secret. So therefore, we have a lot of Windows endpoints, 18,000 to be precise. The funny thing is, or the interesting fact is that we have quite as much, just as much macOS endpoints. So we have exactly 51% now because of recent acquisitions of Mac-only companies. And for us, Mac is a choice. No one is limited from using the endpoint he likes because it's better suited to him. So this is very important message to all of our colleagues. You're not limited, but you have the choice. So we are managing macOS. Indeed, we've started 3 years ago with transitioning from what we used to have, which was a collection. We've tried, let me tell you, we've tried everything. all the solutions which complement SMN, SCCM, standalone management solutions, scripted solutions, house-built solutions, server-based solutions tailored for endpoints, everything. Nothing was up to the par, zero. So what we did is we've worked actively with our product team to develop, to pretty much co-author the requirements from IT perspective for MDM management of an Apple device. So one of the first things which we did is this annoying pop-up for Apple keychains. This is not nice, and this pretty much illustrates the readiness for zero trust within Apple ecosystem as of right now. It is none. There is no way to bypass these password requests, like sudo space anything password required. But that's maybe something Apple can work upon in the future, and I sincerely hope they do. What we did though is we've removed that specific requirement for the login keychain by using specific profiles within Workspace ONE UEM. Apple has designed the operating system macOS nowadays that the majority of the enterprise-centric components can only be touched upon with an MDM provider, such as Workspace ONE UEM. So currently we're using Enterprise Connect, which allows us to sync a password with AD of a local account with AD. So the only requirement is they have the same name. And as soon as this is the case, it keeps both passwords in sync. Correctly notifies you when it's about to expire. And the beauty is that if it expires, you can still log into your Mac and then fix your own password using alternative means, which we'll show a little bit later, the self-service password reset flow, and then reconnect them both again. So another big thing, which is very important, is the software distribution of applications. With macOS, unfortunately, it is impossible to retain the applications upon reset of the device. That's how Macs work. They connect to the internet, download the full deployment image, literally, wipe everything, and you start from scratch. So we're delivering our applications over the air and always up to date because they're always in the CDN, which has more than 30 distribution points, as already pointed. Then there is our intelligent hub application catalog, which is again polymorphic because that's the nature of Workspace ONE UEM. What does it mean? If I have an application like Adobe Reader here, I'm just seeing the Mac version of it. If we have the exact same Adobe Reader, even if it's the same version, which is not the case, but let's say it's the same, I won't see it because it's because it's a Windows application. If we package the application for Windows, it's only seen on Windows. If we package an application for macOS, it will be seen on macOS. If we put the Adobe Reader for iOS, I won't see it on my Mac. So that specific category is only visible on the operating system you're on, which is a great help. And this is a practical example of intelligence reporting. The data here is deliberately old on purpose so that it is old enough to not to be dangerous to share, but recent enough so we can get to see how it actually looks like. The visualization is up to date, the data is old for a reason. So as you can see, this is very dynamic. Our delivery director likes that very much. He likes knowing where are we moving, how is our refresh going on, who is stuck on another version and why is there a technical problem. And we are tasked hard to make sure no one is blocked from going to the latest and greatest. Something which we pass upon our vendors as well. So yeah, with some of them, we've made our names. Okay, so how does the out-of-the-box experience work for macOS? Now, Ubi is a flow. Microsoft has unfortunately made it extremely popular. So when someone says Ubi, everybody's thinking Microsoft, but it's just the flow of how you onboard an operating system or an endpoint. So for macOS, yes, there is an Ubi flow, of course. And it's pretty similar to the one in Windows, but let's just go through it quickly. After you place an order for a Mac, what happens is, as we order the Mac through our vendors, we put that Mac into ABM, previously called DEP program. So as soon as you get that Mac, only that specific serial number is going to be allowed to consume a username and password to join to our Azure AD management / Workspace ONE UEM management. So as soon as you do that and logistics takes that over, they issue a purchase order with our supplier. Our supplier or reseller purchases those Macs, adds them to our ABM, puts an asset tag on them. This is literally serial number, asset number 1234567, and puts a pamphlet on the box. This is different than Windows. In Windows, it's in the box. on the Macs are on the box and for some reason. So, and then it's shipped to the colleague, and our colleague can enjoy the Workspace ONE UEM experience. So this is a quick recap on the macOS. It's a delightful experience. Literally, nobody in IT has to lift a finger to get an endpoint out to our colleagues. Nothing. They're shipped directly, which is important because nowadays, even if they're in the office, as an example, when the country is in India, we have to hire a service to get it from the office and bring it to the people using motorcycles. So even that can be quite the problem. And then we're guided through set up your own environment, PIN, Apple ID account, anything you want. And we're activating the cloud backup of the encryption key, which is retained in two places. First is first. The second one is on Workspace ONE UEM. As soon as as soon as our colleagues log in, they get a certificate profile which enables their VPN solution to be fully working as expected. So as this happens, we're ready to roll. We can literally enjoy our day-to-day corporate experience. Okay, this is an illustration of our out-of-the-box experience. You have a MacBook Pro, and you have the box next to it. We've put something on the front. You can recognize the little Apple logo on the side. And we've put the 5 steps, again, 5 steps on the back for just to make sure you don't feel lost. It's easy. So let's do a quick recap on what we've learned so far. On macOS, we require a fully onboarded user. So we have to combine the magic of the magic link with a 3-step process. So you have your user account ready. Then you can get your DEP Mac. By the way, it doesn't have to be DEP. You can use any Mac. Just the DEP ones are way better because it's way more streamlined process. And the average download, which was timed as of a month ago, was 5.8 gigabytes over the wire. So anytime you're provisioning a Mac, you download just as much content from the internet. And very unfortunately, due to how macOS is designed, if you have to refresh/reset the Mac nowadays because they don't have a removable hard drive, lose all your data in the process, you have to reinstall your applications as well. So Stefchu, would you like recapping for us the Windows 10 experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much the same. As we said, we can provision the account, and with safely provided password, you can enroll anytime, anywhere. And as I didn't say this example, but pretty quickly, we had a sales manager somewhere on a business trip, and his computer bricked out completely, so unusable, unfixable as well. What we're gonna do? I mean, on the next day, he has a very important presentation and so on. So literally, he went to the shop, brought a laptop with Windows, and he enrolled it, and he was able to do his job. It was like really nice story. It's you even able to do that. You just will download not 2.9 gigabytes, but more, like in Mac situation maybe. But that's the story. And also retains application on reset, which saves a lot of time into download stuff, and you have all of the essential applications like communication stuff, VPN, right away there as soon as you log in.
Okay, let's speak a little bit about servicing.
So I want to bring attention to the traditional management where you were stressed out to spread the devices based on model or based on operating system or the different versions of it and etc. So as Stian mentioned and gave an example with Mac application catalog, in Workspace ONE, we were able to make our production and deployment waves only based on users. So Workspace ONE is doing the heavy lifting and distinguishing what is for you, right? And like that, we have a pretty simple deployment because everything is in one place. The groups are the same, and you can deploy a Mac application to these guys, and none of the windows will be affected. So say goodbye to all of these collections that you need to maintain, create for the specific deployments, and be sure that you're not deploying a different operating system and something might break. The rest of it, we are using Active Directory to make grouping of these users, and we have this mapped up in Workspace ONE. So as you can see, we have a steady approach with a simple pivot, which is our team Then we do a steady UAT, which is essentially the IT stuff in the company. And only then we move to production, which is spread into different groups, which are on the next slide, and you'll see the numbers. We have used different criteria to segregate them, and it works pretty well. We are deploying with this deployment strategy like for over 2 years, and I can brag about we haven't break anything. All of the bugs are caught in the UAT, and maybe last but not least in wave 1 in production. And as I said, the beauty of it is that we can deploy the absolutely the same and apply it to regardless of the platform. So it's platform agnostic. Yeah. So on the right side, you see how we segregated simple segregation of our colleagues. Of course, the critical ones are at the end, and we are able to slowly move wave by wave, or we can just deploy 3 at a time. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just about how many clicks you do. But these are users, and we usernames. We don't care about. Workspace ONE is caring about grouping the hardware on a backend.
Exactly. So we're following the exact same thing for macOS and Windows. We don't have to make a difference just because we think about the user. Again, I told you this is center front stage. The identity of the user is now most important, is not the device. So no longer collections and thinking about which floor to power on, not to trigger the circuit breaker at 1 a.m. in Saturday, as an example. Okay, let's speak about Windows for Business a little bit, because Microsoft have tried really hard to make it difficult for IT admins out there and kept on changing and changing and changing. So what do we do there with Workspace for UEM? How are we managing that? Steph, would you like to share?
Yeah, updates are also a pretty big piece and a big change for us, because similar to the provisioning stuff, we are able to eliminate the repeatable work, which is done all we know, Patch Tuesday, it's there. You need to make sure you have a good compliance, that the cumulative updates are downloaded and in distribution points and ready to go out, and etc. You have to take care and think about the locations with poor network and all of these things. And today we are able to abuse Windows Update for Business, and just to simplify the term, because they've used it so many times in different directions. Essentially, it gives you the chance to eliminate the local infrastructure, have the Workspace ONE as a middleman between Microsoft and the device. And in Workspace ONE, you're able to define what updates are available for the device. For example, security, critical, and cumulative updates, we auto-approve them. And we have a certain, we just delay the deployment with certain days on the different waves. Like that, we can monitor if something breaks, and we can make a full stop of it. In that sense, we are no longer taking care of Visa servers to be maintained and download the patches every month. Everything is hosted by Microsoft, the content. We just tell the devices what you can do and what you cannot. We don't approve the full catalog. So the feature updates, on the other hand, because they're more complex and causing issues most of the time, we use the deployment waves that we showed in prior to that. So we use the deployment waves for absolutely everything if we want to, like profiles, applications, updates, it doesn't matter. That's how we have a full control, and we can deploy the feature update and approve it only on our group, or maybe the different waves step by step. The other big piece is that we've moved the driver management into Windows Updates. And today, all of the drivers are downloaded from there. So that also saves a lot of work that you need to do and maintain catalogs of drivers and test them and document them and so on. So that's blast from the past. And native Windows notifications and the reboot experience, that's also a very big piece for me, because they are no longer these strange pop-ups. You cannot imagine how many complaints we had from the SCM pop-up, and especially for the forced reboot, because we all know, like, you have up to 24 hours that you can set up, but as soon as the time is reached, it will reboot regardless of what you do. People were complaining about this. We are working there different time zones. They're as most of the colleagues, they don't want to reboot on a fly after the update is applied. So today we have a grace period about the reboot. But for example, if you're out of this grace period with few hours or a day, and you just enter it in a meeting, it will never reboot your device. It will check, are you there? Yes, he's there, he's working. I will wait until the device is idle, and only then I will apply. And no good say goodbye to complaints from forced reboots as well. So all of these things combined together, like we have the full control, and we've eliminated all of the additional work which is repeatable every month with this one. Feature updates, on the other hand, we need to test them, as you know. They're much more complex and causing different issues in different directions, but we have the full control.
All right, I just add one thing about the macOS Windows update. Oh, sorry, macOS Windows Update Management is interesting topic because it doesn't exist. However, how about the macOS updates? Apple has introduced a new way how we can defer the updates on macOS itself, major or minor, for up to 90 days. I'm wondering where they, came up with that 90-day mark specifically. Maybe I've seen it in the Windows in the exact same way, but I don't know. I'm just guessing. I can never tell that because I'm not Apple. But yes, since a couple of versions of macOS, there is a deferral option for macOS as well. Long story short, it is working to an extent, but it also leaves some room to be desired. It's brand new, so we're still working through that. For us, as I told you, we're living on the cutting edge, so we're rather having people upgrade and then fix the issues because that's what they do, as opposed to limiting them from upgrading. Now, for the major versions, we're implementing a stop so that they cannot go completely offline. As far as the dot level versions, we're just testing rigorously with the betas and everything else before it's final, and we know what to expect before that happens. However, for the past 2 years that we're running in such an agile mode for updates in macOS specifically, we haven't had a single issue as far as problem from the upgrade itself. It was usually something related to the actual um, upgrade, but not the upgrade itself. So long story short, living on the edge is not as dangerous as it seems for us specifically. So with that, we're concluding the content we've had ready and theater modes. Going Going to the next slide, we're opening up for questions. So now is the time to use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screens and actually and input the questions. And I think we